All right, let's dive right in. Picture this, a throne room, and the air is just electric with tension. You've got our heroes, Evan and Abby, squaring off against this incredibly powerful leader, a guy named Pope. And Pope, well, he's not surprised to see them. He looks like he's been waiting. Right from the get-go, you know this isn't going to be a friendly chat. This is a showdown.
And bam! Evan just comes right out of the gate with this bombshell accusation. You'd think that would be the signal for the guards to rush in, for swords to be drawn, right? But no, what happens next is way more twisted. This isn't about starting a fight. It's about starting a game, a very dangerous psychological game, and Pope is the one making the rules.
So how does a guy like Pope react to being called a puppet of some evil entity? He doesn't even flinch. He just smiles. And the way it's described, it's this slow, chilling smile that doesn't even touch his eyes. That's not confidence. That's the look of someone who is so in control he believes the game is already over. He's already won.
So this first part really gets into this idea that true, absolute power doesn't have to raise its voice. As Pope just sits there, taking in this huge accusation, the room itself starts to change. The shadows behind his throne, they start to move, to ripple, almost like they're alive. There's something else in this room, and it is definitely on Pope's side.
And just to prove that point, when Abby tries to jump in, Pope doesn't even look at her. He just says one word, silence. And that word, it hits her like a physical blow. It's described as this invisible weight that just crushes down on her, literally stopping her from speaking. That's not just authority, that's total command over another person without even lifting a finger.
And that really brings us to the heart of the whole conflict, doesn't it? On one hand, you have Pope's power. It's external, it's absolute, and it demands you obey without question. But Evan's power, his authority, it's internal. He calls it his Christic conscience. And that's the real battle here. Is true strength found in following the rules or in following your own inner voice?
Okay, so now Pope decides to lay his trap. He offers a test, but really, it's a choice with no right answer. A slick, ceremonial blade slides out from the arm of his throne. And the dare is simple. He's basically saying, you think I'm a puppet? Fine. Prove it. Here's the knife. Cut the strings.
So Evan accepts. He starts walking toward the throne, and that's when the room itself seems to turn against him. A whispering starts up, but it's not coming from Pope. It's coming from everywhere. The walls, the floor, the very stones. It's a full-on psychic assault, like the building itself is trying to crush their rebellion.
And the whispers? They're not random. They're targeted. The first one is designed to cut right to the bone, to make him question if he even has the right to be there.
Then comes the next one. It's a sharp, brutal command, trying to force that instinctual primal reaction of submission.
And finally, just as he gets to the steps of the throne, the whispers all come together in one final, screaming demand. This is what it's all about for them.
Now, while Evan is battling these whispers, Abby sees something else. Her vision shifts, and she can see what's really going on beneath the throne. And it is terrifying. She sees the massive, thick coils of a giant serpent himself, wrapped around the base of Pope's seat, its eyes just glowing in the dark.
And here's the kicker. Pope doesn't even deny that the serpent is there. He just rebrands it. He tells Abby she's not seeing a demon, she's seeing order, this necessary force that keeps the chaos of human freedom in check. But what Abby sees is a monster. And that's the core question. Is this control a good thing, a necessary evil, or is it just a demonic prison?
And that brings us to the moment of truth. Evan is standing there, the blade is waiting, the whispers are screaming at him, and there's a literal serpent coiled at the feet of the man on the throne. He has to make a choice, and his only guide is that inner conscience he trusts so much. He has to decide whether or not to play Pope's game.
And his conscience gives him the answer. He looks right at Pope and refuses the test entirely. With that one line, he just shatters the whole setup. He's saying, I won't become a killer to prove my point, but I'm not going to be your pawn either. He's carving out a third option that Pope didn't even think was possible.
And by refusing to play, Evan completely changes the dynamic. He forces Pope to show his real cards. And we realize the blade, the serpent, the whispers, that was all just theater. Pope's true weapon, his real power, is something far more dangerous.
And there it is. The main doors to the throne room fly open, and it's not guards standing there. It's rows and rows of robed figures, witnesses. This is Pap's ultimate power. He controls the narrative. He doesn't need to defeat Evan in a fight.
He can just tell the entire world his version of what happened, and that version becomes the truth.
So, what do you do when you're trapped like that? You run. Evan and Abby spot their only chance, a small, almost hidden door off to the side. It's not a grand exit. It's a desperate scramble into the unknown. And Pope just watches them go, almost like he's amused by it.
But this door, it doesn't lead to a hallway or outside. It opens onto a narrow, spiral staircase that just plunges down into pitch-black darkness. Think about that. To get away from Pope's total control, they have to literally descend into a place with no light, no path, a place he seemingly let them find.
The second that door slams shut, the whispers from the throne room are gone. Just complete silence. But it only lasts for a second, because then a new sound starts to drift up from the darkness below them. A low, rough laugh. And it's definitely not Pope.
And then a voice comes out of the black. It's amused, maybe a little impatient. And in that one instant, the horrifying truth just crashes down on them. This wasn't an escape. This was an arrival. They weren't running away from the trap. They were running right into the next part of it.
Which leaves us with this final, chilling thought. Did they actually escape anything? Or did they just trade one kind of prison for another, maybe even a worse one? It really makes you wonder if the real fight isn't in these grand throne rooms, but in the dark places no one ever sees. It feels like their battle for freedom has only just begun.